Welcome, welcome. This is Rusty Gaylord, and we are live today for Fork in the Road. Fork in the Road is a conversation with successful people to uncover how they got there. What are the steps they took? What are the decisions they made? What are the circumstances, events that happened in their lives that shaped them and helped them to get to where they are today? I'm super excited today to have Jake Karls with us. Jake is a personality, as you will see, and he is the rainmaker for Midday Squares, reinventing chocolate for the 21st century. So let's bring Jake in here and welcome. Super happy to have you.
Yes, Rusty, I love that. I'm going to sing a song before we start, before we even get into this. I'm going to sing a song that fires me up. I hope you could jam in just to get the blood flowing before we start. So in 3, 2, 1, ole, 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 Rusty, ole, 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 woo! Now we're ready to start. We're ready to start fresh.
We are ready to start. Yes. Awesome. Well, so Jake, super happy to have you here. I know you love to start a lot of your interactions this way, and I think it's great. And I want to just take us into an element of your story that I just thought was so powerful. Was the beginning of the pandemic, you guys building a new company, and you had been a chocolate company, and you'd put a lot of your energy towards the retail segment. And then, of course, the pandemic hits, all the stores close. That thing gets blown up. You guys are at this crisis point, $10,000 left in the bank and trying to figure out what to do. Like, tell us about that moment and what did you do? How did you get through that?
Oh, Rusty, we came into 2020. 2020, we came in guns blazing. I'm remember that we were so energetic. Things were starting to kick off finally. We had our factory under control. We started building out our team and we were so hyped up. And then March 2020 hits. And I know some people call it doomsday, like that March 8th or March 10th. I can't remember the exact date. And I just remember 70% of our sales for retail just fell off a cliff. The store started closing. We had a big business in food service. So the gyms, the juice bars, the salad bars, that completely cut out. And suddenly we're like, oh my God, we're in danger. Like me and my partners looked at each other and we're like, we have $10,000 in the bank account left. And we have 26 people on payroll. And what are we going to do? We just built a factory. We have a bunch of people working here. We need to pay off that debt for it. We have all this stuff. And I just remember saying, oh my God, this could be the end. We don't know what's next. The uncertainty, the grocery game was starting to prioritize, like I like to call it wartime food, which is like beans, rice, baking products, bread, not like the premium products like ours, which are like, these organic grab and go items like bars. Think about it. Most of our customers go to the office. They take it to their work. They take it to the gym. They do all that stuff with it. And then I remember we sat down for one day, my sister, my brother-in-law, and I, and we said, okay, we're going to take this in. We're going to breathe and we're going to come back tomorrow with a game plan. And we were very depleted. We were very sad. We're like, holy shit, this last year and a half, we were having the time of our lives and this could be the end. When you can't make payroll, you have to let people go, right? And I just remember saying to them, I have a great idea. I said, why don't we reach out to all the hospitals, every single hospital in Canada at the time, and why don't we just supply the staff, so the nurses, the doctors, the security, the admin, with bars at cost. So exactly what it costs us so we can get our team to continuously work and keep them hired, and then also fuel people with fuel the front line with amazing quality products that will keep them full. And we create these amazing deals. So that was the first step. And the second step was we were going to play offense, not defense. So every company in our space was going back on defense, saving money, all this stuff. We decided we're going full throttle. We're going to step the gas. We're going to step on the pedal as fast as we can. We went and we hired. We went and we launched a new flavor. We launched a new country. We went crazy. And we ended up growing at 180% that year, which was wild. We hired 17 people, I think, over time. I can't remember the exact number. And we blew it up. And even though the market was changing on what they wanted, we figured ways around it. And our team came together very united to actually play offense. And there was no fear. There was zero fear. It was just pure execution and machine mode. And I'm proud to say that it worked. Obviously, we had our hard times during it, but that was a crazy cliff. We fell off the cliff and climbed right back up.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. Fork in the Road is fundamentally a conversation about what do you do with these decision points in life, right? You reach a point in life, and we got a question here about what is fork in the road. And that's what it is. A fork in the road is where you feel like there's two choices or there's multiple choices. What do? You have to make a choice. And you guys could have retrenched. You could have gone defensive. You could have pulled back. You could have laid people off. You could have taken that path, but you didn't. Instead, you said, no, we're going to go forward. And what I love about that is the creative nature of what you did, right? It's like, hey, we can sell these at cost and put them in the hands of people who are in a challenging environment. You can serve them. There's also some benefit for you getting your product out there more widely experienced. So many awesome things in that story, Jake. Thank you for sharing
it was wild. And I'm telling you, everyone, when you hear all the noise out there, it's very hard to make a decision. You have everyone telling you around you, experts in the field, advisors saying, take it easy, save money, save the capital, let go of team members, use the government funding that's coming. And we just said, no, we're going to go with what our gut's telling us. And that was, we're going to go, if this is going to work, then it's going to work. If it's not going to work, then we're going to close this business. And that ability to understand that we want to be an outlier, not a mediocre, decision maker, was a big game changer for us. And till this day, we live with that exact moment when everyone's on the right side, we stop and reflect, and we usually go left.
Yeah. Well, so I'm curious about something, because I know before you got involved in Midday Squares, before you guys started the company, you had another business, and ultimately, it seems to me you shut that down, right? And I'm curious about that decision, right? Like, how do you know when the right time is to throw in the towel, to shut something down and move on to the next thing? Because you've done that, and yet you're describing now, like, no way, man. When everyone's on the right, we're going left. We're going forward. We're full speed. Like, so how do you make that choice? How do you know what the right path forward is?
Great question. Rusty, I did it twice, actually. So the first time around, I basically, in college, I didn't want to work on the summertime. I wanted to do my own thing. And again, it was always the entrepreneurial spirit I had. So I would come home from university to my parents' house, and I would say, okay, instead of getting a job, I'm going to fitness train people. I'm going to do boot camps outside, because where we live in Montreal, the weather is quite cold during the winter. So you can't be outside really. So I said, why not take advantage of this neighborhood, use the street, blast music, use Snapchat as the storytelling aspect, and train people. So I did these boot camps. I was making like $30,000 to $40,000 a summer, Rusty. And I loved it. I was meeting people. I was going out. I was having the time of my life. But then it came to a point where I was towards my last year of university, and I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore, even though I'm making the dollars, and everyone's like, you're crazy. You're out of your mind to stop doing it. It's unbelievable capital. And I just said to everyone, I said, I lost my passion. I don't love it anymore. I wake up and I'm not happy to do it. So that was number one stopping point. So I stopped that. And then I wanted to launch another business, which is the one that you're talking about. And this is a clothing business on college campuses, which brought me to college campuses to throw events, big parties, and then do a pop-up shop on campus to sell clothing, like comfies, like crop tops, all this comfy stuff to the students. And I did that for 2.5 years straight. And I lost about $75,000 on that journey. I took a lot of the portion from the earnings from my other journey. And I did build a really strong community on that journey. But after 2.5 years, I realized I was burnt out. I wasn't ready to go back to college campuses. I looked at myself in June, and I was approached with an opportunity with Midday Squares. And they said to me, you want to be our third partner in this chocolate company? And I was like, in my head, I was like, no, I'm not really in the food. I'm not a foodie at heart. And, I don't want to be in that. I found it a boring space to be in. But I realized that I completely over throwing parties and going to college campuses, and I just don't know how to operate a business. So I said to myself, I do not know how to operate a business. And if this is going to work, I need to find another partner that could operate with me. And that seemed out of this world complicated. So I ended up saying, I'm done. I have another door there that's giving me the opportunity to be Jake. So my job was to be Jake the Rainmaker, build the noise, build the community, build the network. What I was really good at, storytell, but I didn't have to operate. And I said, holy shit, this is a dream come true, Rusty, because it was like, I now have two partners that are willing to take the operations, and I can go freely and do what I'm great at. And that was the moment it all clicked in my head, saying, I'm going to choose happiness right now. That's what the priority was. It was what I want to do and what I actually want to be doing for the rest of my life. And it had nothing to do with the product launch of what I was going to launch. It had to do with what type of activities or tasks would I be doing on a daily basis. And that was the moment I chose to close that business. Complete loss. Learned a lot, but I joined a new entity, and I'm having the time of my life.
So when we were chatting before we got started here, you were talking about the beginning of this year, the end of last year, end of 2021, beginning of this year, 2022. and just kind of hitting a wall, right? Just like you're tired, and took a little bit of a downtime and reconnected with passion, your sense of passion for the business. And you just said, look, I fell in love with the business again. And you mentioned passion earlier about, the work that you do and finding what it is that you're passionate about and being you and showing up as you. I'm curious how you stay connected with that, right? Because for an entrepreneur, even for someone doing, like, you're doing the work that you love doing, and you can get tired. Like, how do you stay connected and energized and passionate? Oh, and
So I think
someone
that
here, by the way, says you sound Canadian. Well, that's because
yeah, hey, I'm in Montreal, eh? Yeah, so Rusty, I think this is a really important statement. So the first two journeys I didn't care about personal growth. So I was doing what I loved at the time, but I didn't put any effort into coaching, into therapy, into working on myself and understanding myself and understanding how to go on being myself and be proud of that. So I was just going with the sake of going. This journey, I committed to, when we started in August 2018, we committed to a business therapist once a week, mandatory in good and bad times. And I didn't believe in that stuff at first. I was like, I'm just doing it because you're my partners. I'm not doing it because I want to be here. And now I'm the biggest advocate for the work that what you do, Rusty, and other individuals in this space. It is the most important thing. You start to learn how to climb when you're down. You understand what's happening. You're very aware of how you feel and the importance of that. And you know what you have to do to use your tools that you build. You start to build tools with coaches and use those tools to get you out of scenarios that could last and spiral down completely. And I was at the stage at the end of 2021 where, obviously with where the world was, there was a lot of, sadness and negativity, in my opinion. And then there was a lot of just like, me just not being down to do what I was doing. And I was consistently yardsticking against other people, brands, media, all this horrible stuff that was making me kind of go a little crazy. And I start to fall out of love with everything about the business. And I start to get anxiety and anger inside, where I start to feel like I didn't even enjoy coming to office. I didn't enjoy coming to see the people I love and I care about so deeply, my team, my family. And then I realized I needed to check something in. I needed to say, what is going on? And we ended up taking a break as the company for holidays, 10 business days. So a decent amount of time, the whole company. And I ended up getting, unfortunately I got COVID, but that was fortunate for me in the sense where it made me sit down and just think and do nothing, not on the phone, not on anything. And I kind of was like, what's going on? I was asking myself questions, like personal questions, like deep. And I wanted to get deep. I was going inside myself and asking the questions. And suddenly it encouraged me to go, for some reason, to go on Facebook and go through the ads and the comments on the ads and just read the love and the impact that we're doing as a whole, as a business, and go through the emotions that we're creating for people and actually making them feel something. Forget about eating the product, but making them feel excited about something, part of something, community. So I spent about 4.5 hours at 11 p.m. at night typing to consumers personal messages that are still on the comments. I could probably find them for you if you want. But I then text my partners at 7 a.m. the next day and I said, guys, I fell back in love with the business. And that's when I started accelerating and elevating. And now I'm feeling energized, man. And like, if you looked at me a month and a half ago, you'd have been like, this is not the same Jake. But right now I'm feeling it. And I'm like, just pumped. Like I wouldn't even been pumped to come on the call because I wasn't happy with myself and I wasn't in love with what I was doing. You got to check in.
Yeah. And one of the pitfalls that you described in there is yardsticking or measuring yourself against other people, other brands, other companies, other people, as opposed to being you. And it's finding out like who you are and what your special thing is that you bring, right? Your magic, your zone of genius, and operating in that zone of genius and bringing more of that into your work. And when you do, you're happier and you're more impactful. So I want to kind of expand on that a little bit because, one of the things I've heard you talk about is storytelling, and you've mentioned it here and you've talked about it in other places. And that's a big part of what you do. I mean, you guys have hired videographers. I mean, just like everything you do is open book, the good and the bad and the ugly. I mean, the whole thing. In fact, you posted not long ago, you guys posted a kind of like a highlight, low light reel, right? Of like the get real moments that you've been through. And so like you share all of that. And I also, I heard you've mentioned in another place that one of the, this idea of leading with empathy and connecting with empathy. And I'm curious for you how those things, the storytelling, the empathy, the being your best self, like how do those things all come together in the way that you think about not only being yourself, but being the rainmaker and the front man for Midday Squares and connecting with people and engaging them in the whole journey and the whole story?
Well, yeah, Rusty, when we started day one, my mandate when I came in as the third co-founder was, hey, y'all want me to go to business therapy. I need you to start documenting your entire process. What I meant by that was I said, here's Shark Tank. Look at the ratings over the last couple of years. Here's Keeping Up with the Kardashians show. Look at the ratings on TV for the past couple of years. Then I took Elon Musk as an example, and I said, look at his social following over the last couple of years. And I said, if we take the three of these and we take the best things of those worlds and we put them all together and get rid of all the junk and the artificial stuff and the surface level stuff, and we basically create a reality show on entrepreneurship, we'll be able to connect with the consumer at a fan level. And what I mean by that is they will feel like they're buying from a neighbor, a family member, and a friend. And I said, the only way we do that is if we show not only the good, but the bad, the ugly that everyone doesn't see. Everyone's fearful to show that side of life, like the vulnerability. Vulnerability allows you to relate to humans. And I said, if we could be one of the CPG brands that pioneers this relatability factor, I said, we'll change history. And forget about success on financial and all that jazz. If we could impact the next generation coming up to storytell the way we're storytelling in their own authentic way and spread the energy that we're spreading, I think we're going to change the whole industry, because what's going to happen is it's going to force the incumbents to figure out how to get more authentic and be themselves, because we as humans crave storytelling forever, evolutions of history, but also we crave relatability and just to feel part of something. So that's where the storytelling came in. And then the empathy came in, leading with empathy came in. As you learn as a business leader or a leader in anything you do on a sports team, you have to communicate with people. Without communication, things can get very escalated, out of hand, misunderstood, tension can build. And what I learned was when you go into the conversation without the wall, the ego wall or the wall, and you come in with an empathetic mindset, you actually get somewhere. You actually are able to have a ping pong rally with someone. And what I mean by ping pong is if I disagree with you on something, Rusty, and we were to get in a conversation, I know you lead with empathy as well. So if we got into a disagreement, you and I would get somewhere very productive. It would take some time maybe, but we would have a very good conversation because we listen to each other. We're empathetic towards each other, even if we disagree. And I think that the world is lacking that right now, Rusty, and it's very sad. So for me, my goal is to show that if you want to be unapologetically yourself, you're going to be your best version. That's number one. And number two is if you lead with empathy, you'll be a happier person because you'll see the benefits of what you're creating from both your own life and the person you're being empathetic towards.
Yeah. Super powerful, super powerful. The thing that comes to mind for me is like, how do you come to grips with having everything live and everything shared, right? I mean, most of us, we all have our deep, dark secrets, right? I know from my own personal experience, the more I'm able to talk about that stuff, the more I'm able to get out in the open, the more free I am to be myself. But I'm curious about your experience. Like, how did you get over that hump of like, okay, we're putting it all on film. It's all out there. How did you get over it? And how did you get others on board?
Oh, so me, it was easier because I was always on Snapchat, Instagram, like posting my life. Like I thought it was fun for people to see the energy because I went to school out of town. So in Canada, typically most students don't leave the home for university. I know in the US, a lot of people do that. But in Canada, I want to show my friends and family what I was doing, on the outskirts. So when I applied that to everything, it started working. But my sister, my brother-in-law, who are my partners, are heavy introverts. So they said to me at the beginning when I proposed this, they're like, "Are you out of your mind?" And I'm like, guys, you're showing me a chocolate bar. If I go in the grocery store right now, there's 1,000 chocolate bars, protein bars, whatever you want to call it. What will differentiate us is obviously great product innovation and creation, but that's not good enough in today's world, unfortunately, because there's a world of internet, there's a world of extra accessibility and all that stuff. I said, how we're going to do it is create a great story. And the only way to create a great story is to capture everything. And at first they were like, this is really weird. This is off. This is not myself. And I said, listen, give it 3 months. If it's not yourself after 3 months, then we're not going to do it. And slowly Nick and Leslie, my sister, my brother-in-law, started to get more comfortable and more happy about it. And like you said, freedom starts to come off your shoulders because you're like, wow, it's actually nice to show that I burnt out, actually, that I actually did burn out. I don't need to hide it. I don't need to hide it to my parents. I don't need to hide it to my friends. Like, I'm not the perfect person. I'm not always happy. And I think when you show that, you don't, not just your consumers love it, but everyone, and they become fans. I'm telling you, it becomes fandom, not just consumerism. And I think, I don't know if that's a word, but I think that's the mentality that's allowed us to access for our entire team. We're 70 people now, and everyone that comes in here, they start off and they're like, this is weird with the cameras. And then they start to love it and they want to be part of it more and more and more. And it's in our DNA here. So, if you don't like the camera and you don't want to be part of it, the door's always open here to help you find another job, because it just won't align with your first principles.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Well, so we've talked a lot about the community and you and the decisions and how to pick yourself up in the hard times and all of that. We haven't talked a lot about the product, but I'm a fan. Peanut butter is definitely my favorite flavor. So for anyone listening, how do they get in touch with you, get in touch with the product, and follow this amazing story that you guys are sharing?
Yeah, Rusty. So thank you for supporting, first off. So you can buy the product on our website, w.middaysquares.com, or Amazon or any retailer. We have a lot of retailers starting to open up in the US. We are located in the fridge of the store. So that's very important. If you're going to go to a retailer like Sprouts, you're going to go to Whole Foods, any of that stuff, it's located in the fridge. And I think that's important. It's hard to find a bar in the refrigerator. Otherwise, connect with me on LinkedIn, Jake Karls. I love connecting with new folks on any industry, any topic, anything. I'm an open book. And follow us on Instagram. I think you'll like the journey on there. It shows everything, like what we discussed, the good, the bad, the ugly.
Yeah, awesome. Jake, Karls, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Rusty.